Good afternoon. Talk about brain waves. Gamma, beta, alpha, theta, delta. These are different brain waves that you produce, and your brain has in different states of the day or of your life. So for example, when you're sleeping, you have delta waves, and when you're kind of trying to problem solve, you usually have gamma waves. Now, I want to talk about alpha waves today, and you obviously can do a lot more research on this, but alpha waves are linked with more moments of creativity or moments where you're very restful. I'll give you a quick example. So they often say, like, when you're taking a shower, you're in this very relaxed state and you have these great ideas that come up, right? That's because you're producing alpha waves at that moment. Now, the point of today is, how do you improve the quality of these alpha waves and how do you get them more frequently? So there's this place in Vancouver, right? And it's this like completely modern, crazy place. It's quite expensive. It's called 40 Years of Zen. That's the name of the place. It's called 40 Years of Zen. And what they do is they hook up all this like biohacking technology to pretty much show you at any given moment, or as you're, say, for example, meditating, or as you're thinking, what waves you're producing. So, until now, you might have had to just kind of use your own psychological or your own self-analysis to kind of know that, you're meditating at a higher and higher level. But with this tool, you can now see live what waves and what height you're producing those waves, for example. So there's somebody that I look up to a lot. His name is Vishen, and he writes this book called The Extraordinary Mind. And he goes, I'm at this place, I have all these things connected to me, I'm doing the meditating, and they say, okay, you've got to go through a process of forgiveness. You have to forgive people. You have to forgive everybody in your life that has ever done any kind of harm to you, or does ever, whatever you're holding on to, whatever anger. And as you forgive them, see what happens to your waves. And so sure enough, he's forgiving, everybody from his high school teacher that might have done something, or to everybody he can imagine. He was trying to go through a process of forgiving. And as he, the person in his life that he had to really forgive, as he forgave that person, he's like, the machine made the noise. As I was just mentally making, mentally forgiving this person, the machine made the noise that I reached the peak of that brainwave. That's crazy. And it was one of the biggest conclusions of that whole like that research or that project, is that the importance of forgiveness, and that the exercise of forgiving everybody in your life that has ever done any kind of harm for you and turning that into compassion is so critical. It's so important to both the quality of your life, but to reach higher states of alpha brainwaves. The people we can't forgive, sometimes it's, how could I ever forgive that person? They did this and this and that and that. From what I've studied and what I've learned, the people that we cannot forgive are often, the reason is because we don't think we would have ever done what they did if we were in their shoes. And a lot of that is, well, it's a lack of compassion, but more importantly, it's a lack of understanding that you also might have or could have done something similar. And see, part of this is accepting the reality that as a human, and as we are all humans, that we have the capacity to murder. We all have the capacity to do all kinds of wrong and bad things. And why is it that I can accept somebody stealing from me, but maybe you cannot? But while I can understand why that person might have harmed that person, but maybe you cannot. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we can't put ourselves in that person's shoes, and we've kind of blocked our mind of thinking that we could ever be that person. No matter the circumstance, I would never ever do that. And that's probably lying to yourself. Not probably, it is. Because if you wouldn't have had the capacity to harm others, if you couldn't have done it under extreme circumstances. I mean, as humans, obviously we all have the capacity to do everything, literally. Like every good and bad thing, we all have the same exact capacity. So if you're having a hard time forgiving somebody, it's a deeper question about going back to your childhood, but more importantly, it's a deeper question about, well, we need to have a further conversation. But anyways, I just want to point that thing about forgiveness, and I hope you take a minute today or more and just think about who you haven't forgiven throughout your life, and go as far back as possible. It'll definitely improve the quality of your life, more importantly, your brain waves. That's all for today.